I want you to imagine a scenario. It is Friday in the near future. Outside, there's some foul weather, and on the news they've been warning that a storm is coming. You have just gotten home from work, and maybe you've been looking forward to have a family dinner, meet a friend, or just dive into a good TV series. Right now, you're relaxing on the couch with a cup of coffee as you're hearing the wind is picking up outside. But as you're having your last sip of coffee, suddenly everything goes dark. A power out has occurred, but there's no reason to panic since the power usually comes back within a couple of hours. To be on the safe side, light a couple of candles and get a flashlight that you make sure works and put it into your pocket. That might be coming in handy later. What you have to do right away is to make sure you limit your usage of your mobile phone. You gotta have enough battery left to be able to keep yourself updated about the situation. A couple of hours have passed but still no change. What you now need to remember is that if the power out concerns the whole city, your water supply is also affected since the water pumps don't work. But there is still some water in the system, so you can fill up some buckets or your bathtub to have water for drinking, washing yourself, or cooking. But remember that you do have an advantage if you already have some drinking water stocked. You can store it in normal plastic bottles and switch it out to new fresh water with regular intervals, for example every 3 months. It's almost midnight now, and you have been without electricity for 7 hours. The latest news from public service reports that there's still no prognosis on when the power will come back. You now know what you're dealing with, and you have to accept it to face it. You're in a crisis situation. It is now time for you to bring out your crisis box. In your crisis box, there should be everything that you might need to be on your own for at least 72 hours. This includes batteries, radio, candles, food, camping stove, and fuel for a camping stove. Your crisis box should be stored with easy access. You are only allowed to open your crisis box for 2 reasons. 1, a crisis situation has occurred, or 2, you're about to switch goods that has an expiration date. A notebook, and instructions and checklists for different types of crises can be a handy thing to have in it. An emergency radio is a very good piece of gear to have in your crisis box. Tune it in to the designated radio station that in your country is responsible for emergency information. Keep yourself updated about the situation. Something that is very, very important is that you trust the authorities and the information that is given to you by them. If you're looking for information elsewhere but the authorities, you might find yourself become a victim of false information that potentially can hurt both you and others. If it's winter when you're without electricity, your home might quickly get cold, so choose a suitable room in your home and close yourself in. To add a bit of extra warmth during the night, you can make a blanket fort out of, for example, your kitchen table or your couch. Having a sleeping bag and a sleeping pad at home can always come in handy. When you need to go to the bathroom, you won't be able to flush since the water isn't working. An easy way around this is to take a bucket with a trash bag in it, and in the bottom of the trash bag you can fill up with some cat litter. You can then do your business, seal the bag, and throw it into the garbage. When it comes to washing yourself, you can either use a pot to fetch water from the bathtub or the bucket and use together with soap, or you can use wet wipes. Target specifically the 5 points: face, armpits, hands, groin, and feet. Hygiene is important even in times of crisis. In a large-scale power outage, you will not be able to buy food since the supermarket's cashier system will be down. Taking the car somewhere is also an unnecessary risk since the traffic lights most probably are not working either. Here's 3 types of food that you can store in your crisis box. Canned food. It's cheap and has a pretty good expiration date. You might have to heat the content up before eating, which might force you to clean your camping stove pot afterwards. Ready-to-eat meals. They last long but are more expensive. You eat the content either cold right from the bag, or you heat it up by putting the bag into hot water. Freeze-dried food. It's expensive, but it lasts for very long. You cook it by adding boiling water right into the bag. But beware that you might have to use quite a lot of water. When using a camping stove inside, it's of course important to do it in a safe manner. For example, you can take a metal tray from the oven and put the camping stove inside of it. Something you need to recognize in a time of crisis is that the authorities have been affected by the same thing as you have. Therefore, Swedish authorities demand of us citizens that we have to be able to be self-sustaining, every household, for at least 72 hours without any help from the outside. This so that the authorities themselves can focus on mobilize and organize to help those in most dire need of help. Two and a half days have now passed, and so far you've been doing everything right. You have kept yourself updated about the situation, and you close yourself into one room to keep yourself warm. You have not wasted any water, and you cooked your meals in a safe manner. You have kept yourself clean, and you have made no unnecessary trips. Right now, you're cooking your breakfast, when all of a sudden, power comes back. So, why should you have a crisis box at home? The answer to that is, if you are prepared, you will need no preparation. If you have a plan, you can afford to live your life as usual. The question you need to ask yourself is, if this scenario would be to turn into reality tomorrow, are you ready?